Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 357 for the 15th of February for the Ukraine war or the special military operation in Ukraine. So let's start off with Ukrainian Air Force report that there is a Russian Ka-52 shot down over Ukraine. Moving on to the southern front. At the southern front, in the Odessa and Kherson region, we do not have any reports of any fighting around this region. Moving on to the Zaporizhzhia line. So at the Zaporizhzhia line, so this is Zaporizhzhia city, and this region, this area here is the consistent Ukrainian defense line. Let me draw a bit thicker. There is this Ukrainian defense line across this region, protecting this resupply route. So at this region here, there is an update in terms of the front line with the Ukrainian forces geolocated to have controlled this junction here south of Novodanilivka, which is just south of Orikhiv. So this actually shows that most of the Russian advances previously during the Zaporizhzhia offensive has been negated. Over at the Velika Novosylka region. So at the Velika Novosylka region, there is fighting reported at Novosylka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. In terms of details, we do not know what is happening around here. So there's nothing much we can to share about. Suddenly very foggy. Hello, don't be so foggy. Let me refresh. So yeah, suddenly things just get really foggy here over in Ukraine. Yeah, so we're back. So moving on to the Donetsk Front. At the Donetsk Front, there is fighting reported at Vasyukivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and there is also shelling being reported at Vasyukivka according to the Russian Defense Ministry. It could be the same thing actually, because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry might see the shelling, and because they say firepower, it could be also from tanks and from infantry, and all this shelling might be seen as a attack. So they know that, which is why they say they repulse enemy attack, even though the Russians might not even actually move it towards Vasyukivka. So just need to be aware of that. Anyway, this information is no longer accurate. There is a lot more changes already. So over at Vuhledar, significant changes to the front line. The Russian forces have attacked again into the dachas east of Vuhledar. Should I draw it thicker? Make it fat, make it thicker. No, then you can see better. So they are now fighting within the dacha area, according to Ryba, where they say heavy street fighting continues in Vuhledar, which actually confused the hell out of me, since when they are fighting in the streets. So after that, take a look at their map. Actually, they are referring to the dacha area, which is here. So, which is actually this region here. They are actually fighting here. The Russian forces actually have not been able to enter into Vuhledar itself. Totally impossible because of this mining operation that was conducted all around Vuhledar over the past 2 weeks. So from the 1st all the way to the 5th, we have all this mining, which means that all this region here, all the entire approach is gone. You cannot really approach, you cannot actually enter Vuhledar at all without dealing with the mines first. So the Russians just resort to shelling. There are continue to be reported shellings at Vuhledar according to the Russian Defense Ministry, and Ukrainian forces reacted by sending reinforcement into Vuhledar. So because let me click the Google Earth, a bit problematic in terms of clicking. So according to Ryba, the pro-Russian source, they say that the Ukrainian leadership continued to send reserves into the city. And so the situation is still pretty fluid, because the Ukrainians still can actually push out, not from here. This is not doable, but actually you can still do a counter-offensive from the coal mine region, or from the other side. So the situation remains to be stagnant. or still developing. But it's interesting the Russians are still actually attacking Vuhledar, given how difficult it is. Moving on, there's fighting reported at Novomikhailivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and over at the Marinka region. So there's also some updates in terms of Marinka. There's a geolocation at this position, according to Surya maps, referring to I think some other video footages. So they geolocated Russian forces to be at this region here, and this is actually corroborated with reports coming from Ryba as well, that they say that the fighters of the Russian forces actually is moving in the north. So because the Ukrainians are doing a very strong defense line in the center, in fact in the center here, they're actually defending very well here, and as a result the Russian forces have not been able to penetrate through, and the operations now is mainly towards the south and from the north. The Russian forces is now mainly trying to do this instead of going through the center, because the Ukrainian forces have been continuing to reinforce and fighting through the center. So it is not possible for the Russians actually to go through the center. The front line looks somewhat like this. With if you're pro-Ukrainian side, the front line is actually the Ukrainians actually have a decent control over the most of this center area, the Druzhby Avenue. So yeah, so this is Druzhby Avenue, and all these buildings here has been largely flattened already, in bad shape, and this somehow this road here is until today is still being contested. No one can really actually entrench there seemingly. So that's happening at Marinka. Over at the northeast of Donetsk, which is the Avdiivka Front. So this entire area here, is now known as Avdiivka Front in our reporting, and the Russian forces is attacking Ivanivske, Pervomaiske, Vodian, Avdiivka, and also in the north, here at Krasnohorivka and at Novobakhmutivka. So going into the details, we have fighting reported at Siversk reported by Deep State UA. At Pervomaiske, it's being reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. At Vodian, it's being reported by Ukrainian Defense Ministry. There is a Ukrainian stronghold over here, as you can see. So it's not easy for the Russians to actually penetrate through. Yeah, it looks pretty flat, to be honest. And meanwhile, there is also Russian Defense Ministry in today's report reported that they destroyed 2 HIMARS. So 2 HIMARS is reportedly destroyed. So believe if you want to believe. And there's fighting reported at Avdiivka. Based on previous reports, we know that the Russians are in this region here, and they are probably pushing from this direction, at the Avdiivka direction. In the north of Avdiivka, we have fighting reported at Krasnohora, with the Russians continuing to push towards the town. And over in the north, at Novobakhmutivka, most of this town of Novobakhmutivka has been captured by the Russian forces. They are now trying to push into the western outskirt of Novobakhmutivka, with the Ukrainians struggling to hold the lines. And this is the situation over at Avdiivka. Moving on at the Bakhmut Front. So this is Bakhmut Front. At the Bakhmut Front, Dilievka appeared in the reports again, because the Ukrainian Defense Ministry named this location as somewhere that the Russians attacked. And further up north, the situation here at the southwest of Bakhmut city is getting a bit tricky. The Ukrainian forces counterattacked, and there is rumors of retreat by certain Russian forces, according to Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source. However, if you look at the fighting, the information reported by Ryba, they say that the fighting simply continues, and they do acknowledge the counterattack by the Ukrainian forces. They did not mention a withdrawal or a Ukrainian success in this direction. Over at Ivanivske, the fighting is reported in the outskirt of Ivanivske. The Russian forces have not yet entered Ivanivske, with the Ukrainians holding a very strong line. So moving on at Bakhmut city. Bakhmut city, the fighting mainly is being concentrated in the eastern part. Oops, wrong color. In the eastern part of Bakhmut and from the southwest of Bakhmut. So information coming from Ryba about these actions, and Deep State UA talking about the eastern part of Ukraine. Moving up north of Bakhmut city, the Paraskovievka continues to hold for the Ukrainian forces. They continue to hold this position despite it's very difficult, with the Russians attacking from the north, from the east, and from the south. And over at the salients have actually expanded. So should I tell you guys what's the sources? Information is coming from Ryba. And over at this salient in the western part of Vuhledar, the Russian forces, according to SITREP maps, have expanded their front line to this. So it got bigger. Previously, it was only like this. So the Russian forces is now attacking there is a hilly region here according to SITREP maps, and the Russian forces currently attacking in this area here towards Vasyukivka. And based on information coming from Ryba as well, there is fighting reported near Zaliznyanske and along the road. So the Russian forces is actually pushing this direction, and they're expanding their control. Fighting has already reached the outskirts of Zaliznyanske, and then they have consolidated the lines all across the river. So let's zoom in a bit. Zaliznyanske. So it's a very, very tiny village, and Russian forces is already at the border of it. And if the front line for the Russians are already along the river, they have consolidated their position all along the river until the south of Vasyukivka. And so fighting is currently reported in this region according to SITREP maps. And at Paraskovievka, information simply comes from Ryba and Deep State UA talking about how the Russians are still not yet broke through yet. Other than that, the information is simply talking about them, the Russians attacking from 3 sides. And over at the Rozdolivka, Fedorivka region, the Russians continue to be reportedly fighting towards Fedorivka and Rozdolivka, according to Wargonzo, and this one is by Ryba. And the fighting is also reported at Vasily, according to Deep State UA, with the Russians attacking across the entire line here. They are attacking across the entire line, but the Ukrainian lines continue to hold very well in this region here. At the Siversk Front, other than the actions in the south, we only have information about fighting at Bilohorivka. At Bilohorivka, we do not have any other information. This is reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. And did I miss any information here? No. So over at the Kreminna offensive, fighting is reported in the Zaliznyanske forestry according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and there's fighting near Kuzmine. Kuzmine is here. Fight near there, and then also near Dibrova, according to Deep State UA. The Russian Defense Ministry simply report shelling at Kuzmine as well as at Dibrova. And the Russian forces currently, they are still pushing with the possible geolocation of Ukrainian forces, because there is a geolocation of Russian shelling this region, and this could mean that the Ukrainian forces is actually positioned there, and this actually corroborates the front line that we currently have, and that the Ukrainian forces actually is not so near to Kreminna anymore, with the Russians actually going from here, the front line moving to here, and probably the front line is actually now here, with the Russians continue to make major push against the Ukrainian lines, forcing the Ukrainian lines to actually push backwards. Very soon they might actually be stuck by the with their back towards the river. So situation is not exactly very good for the Ukrainian forces. Further up north, we have fighting near Ploschanka. This is actually reported by Deep State UA, saying that the Russians are attacking across the entire front line, moving from Ploschanka all the way to Dibrova. So I did not mark all these locations as fighting because I don't really have information of them, particularly mention the fighting. So but you can actually imagine the Russian forces actually attacking across the entire front line in the western part of Kreminna. Moving further up north, over at the Svetove region, we only have fighting reported at Novoselivske, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, where they mentioned that they have fighting, they have active operations by their units. So the Russian forces continue to attack over at Novoselivske. And over in the Kupyansk front, at the Kupyansk front, we have fighting reported at Kromalny. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, in the same report talking about Novoselivske, the same report also mentioned locations such as Vyshana over here, and also near Voreshna. Although the one at Voreshna is more likely talking about just bombardment of Voreshna rather than an active action over this region. And Ryba reported that the Russians are still attacking Sinkivka. And while the Russian forces, according to the Russian Defense Ministry, is attacking in this direction, and the Russians are holding the lines at Liman Pershi. So maybe I should they're holding a line at Liman Pershi. So over at the Ivanivske, we also see reports, according to Deep State UA, a pro-Ukrainian source, of Russians attacking. Although they call this a failed attempt to attack. So the Russians have a very lousy arrow here, and then there's a very strong arrow here, very, very strong, like this, like very strong. The one at Ivanivske is actually, just like puny, like you can't even see it, right? Like maybe like that. Yeah, the one not giga chat at all. The one is like super giga. It's here. So anyway, that's all from the Kupyansk front. There is a Ukrainian Mi-8 shutdown over Doroshivka. Doroshivka is actually this small little village here. Does the name gonna come out? Yeah, it's here, Doroshivka, and which is actually a bit of a distance from the front line, maybe around 5 kilometers. And anyway, that's all. That's all for the summary for the day of 357th for the 15th of February for the special military operation in Ukraine, or the Ukraine war between Ukraine and Russia. And thank you for watching. Do press the subscribe and the like button. Yeah, it seems a bit schizophrenic. I forgot how to pronounce that word. Yeah, for today's report, because it's been a long time since I used the Google Earth to do the reporting. Some of the buttons are very hard to press. And also, yeah, the reason because the other mapping that I used that I custom made, my website is getting very, very laggy. I'm not sure why. The defensepoliticsasia.com. So I trying to figure that out because I'm unable to use the website to do this report. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next update.